Whether you've been to a million Mariners games or getting set to go to your first one, this is going to be a guide on what to do at T-Mobile Park because there is so much to do at the stadium as well as around the stadium, and we're going to talk all about that in this video. And I bet you that a lot of you avid goers might not know some of these things. We're going to break it down here into a few different parts, including how to get to the game, where to park if you are parking, and then where to eat around the stadium and outside of the stadium, what to see while you're in the stadium, so on and so forth. So be sure if you want to go ahead and skip to whatever part you're looking for. First and foremost, getting to T-Mobile Park. T-Mobile Park is pretty easy to get to, whether you're taking the highway coming in on Edgar Martinez Drive, or if you're coming down through the city from the north side. With that being said, traffic is definitely kind of a nightmare when it comes to driving around the stadium, especially after games. So if you can, I would recommend taking the Link Light Rail from either Angle Lake if you're coming from the south, Angle Lake, and I believe it's Tukwila or Renton or something like that, or you can go all the way up from Northgate as well. The Link Light Rail will drop you off on the other side of 4th Avenue, and you just have to cross with basically the mass of people that you're going to be walking with. You don't have to pay for parking, you don't have to pay for gas. That is a huge part. All you got to do is pay for like a $3 ticket on the Link Light Rail. I highly recommend doing this, especially if you have a big group and you don't want to try to find places to park, because parking can get very expensive. $40 plus. I went to a game just the other day and it was $40 for a Wednesday weekday game. Now, if you are parking, I personally would recommend not parking in the Mariners garage, because getting out of that thing is a nightmare. It is so hard and it takes forever to get out of the Mariners garage. Personally, I always park in the Lumen Field garage. I find it really easy to get on I-5 South, which is where I need to head after games. Right after you hop out of the Lumen Field garage, you just take a left out of the garage and basically follow traffic all the way up onto Edgar Martinez Drive and onto the I-5 ramp. Now, in the description of this video, I am going to add an alternate transportation page from mariners.com that just has a bunch of Uber, Lyft, light rail, etc., transit, what have you. Very, very good resource to use if you would like to check it out. It kind of gives you the lay of the land around T-Mobile Park, so make sure to check that out. First and foremost, autographs. I'm not gonna lie, it's not that easy to get autographs at T-Mobile Park, simply because there's just not a lot of accessibility to the players. You could be down on the bullpen fence. That's probably one of your best spots before a game, down in the pen at T-Mobile Park. It's kind of hard to explain where it's at if you've never been there, but you can be right on the fence and watching bullpens of the guys before games, and even during games you can see the relievers warming up in the bullpen. Very cool place to be. Sometimes before games you'll have guys come out and sign autographs right there. Specifically, if you're trying to get Julio Rodriguez, which I'm sure a lot of you are, good luck. You're going to have to be pretty dang close to the dugout, down on that fence line there, and a lot of times as the game gets closer, you're going to get kicked out and told to go back to your seats, because obviously the people in those front rows are trying to sit in their seats. But as the guys are warming up on the field pre-game, whether they be playing catch or getting some sprints in or something like that, if you're down that fence, especially if you have kids with you, the guys are pretty generous with their time and might come down and sign for you a little bit. And this video is actually dedicated to Travis Wilson. Travis has sent us a super chat in one of our streams the other day saying, never been to the stadium, so can you make a video about stuff to do at or near the stadium? I don't live in Washington, thanks. Thank you so much, Travis, for the $20 super chat, and thank you for giving me the idea for this video. Now let's start getting into the stadium. The center field gate and the pen gate open 2 hours early, right out from Lumen Field's garage. That's one of the reasons why I always like to park there, because I usually just go in through that center field gate, and it's really easy to get into the pen from there. With that being said, all the other gates open an hour and a half before game time, and that is when the rest of the stadium opens up. Usually the ushers will keep the rest of the stadium blocked off until everyone's allowed into the ballpark. There's also a T-Mobile line. If you are a T-Mobile customer, you can go in through that line and get in 2 hours early as well, I Bleav. When it comes to accessibility of where you want to go, there are escalators throughout the ballpark that are going to make it easier if you are not wanting to climb a million stairs to get up to the 300 level. Specifically, there is one on the first base side, kind of behind, I Bleav it's Hop Valley. It's pretty hidden, and that escalator goes all the way to the top at the 300 level. It's a very long escalator. Gets you all the way up to the 300 level on the first base side. Otherwise, there are escalators as well over by the team store that can take you up to the 200 level, the suite level, etc. Of course, there are also elevators throughout the ballpark if you did want to do that. Now that you're inside the stadium, let's talk food and where to go. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the new walk-off markets, the new Amazon walk-off markets where you just put your card in, walk in, grab your food, and walk out. During busy games, the lines on the concourse get insane, and it's very, very hard to get food and beer and whatnot. So I always try to go to these walk-off markets. They always have a bit of everything. Usually if you want to get like the Mitch Witch, that's the place to do it. If you're looking for beer, that's also just the place to go. I'd much rather do that than stand in one of the beer lines, because they are just ridiculous. Some other hot places around the stadium, of course, is Moto Pizza up on the 300 level. Be prepared to wait in line, because you're going to be waiting there for quite a while, but it is a pretty good slice of pizza. The Way Back Crab Shack is also a pretty popular one out there in center field, and I personally love Chick Chick Boom. They have a really nice garlic aioli sauce to dip your chicken tenders in, and they have waffle fries. Salt and Straw Ice Cream out in left center field, which originated down in Oregon, is also very, very good. I'd recommend that on a hot day. And Edgar's Cantina always has some fun stuff, including the Grasshoppers. If you're sitting on the 200 level, be sure to go check out Trattoria. It's like a pasta bar down the first baseline. It's really, really good. It's like right before you get to, I believe, the Hit It Here Cafe, and they have a really good fettuccine alfredo, and I think that they're one of my favorite places in the ballpark. You do have to have a Terrace Club ticket to get into the 200 level, so just keep that in mind. Now in this video, I'm just doing like a quick top few favorite restaurants in the stadium. If you guys want a bigger breakdown of that, I'm going to be posting one of those as well. The best places to eat in T-Mobile Park and going a little bit more in depth. I'm going to do the same thing for where to sit in T-Mobile Park and make a separate video for that as well. So make sure you guys, if you're not inside of the ballpark yet, there's really not a ton of places that I would go before games. I mean, you could definitely walk down Occidental Avenue and check out some of the stands they have out there. I know they have really good hot dogs and whatnot, and they have some Mariners sports shops as well. Personally, I do really like Elysian Fields. It's a bar a little bit down the street, kind of by Lumen Field. I like going in there quite a bit when I can. And also, of course, Hatback Bar and Grill across the street, which is owned by the Mariners, and it's very Mariners-centric before ball games. A lot of fun to go there as well. When it comes to the best places to sit at T-Mobile Park, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes the seats that are higher up are just better. For example, I think the first few rows in the 300 level are some of the best seats in the house. I really like sitting up there because you get a great view of the city skyline if you're on the first base side, as well as a great view of the field. Also, if you're sitting out in right field, you can usually get those tickets for relatively cheap. It says row 23, but that's actually the first row out there in right field. So if you're looking in the right field corner and it says row 23, just know you're going to actually be pretty close to the action. Best bang for your buck, however, in my opinion, is to get the cheapest possible seat. For example, the Mariners do a lot of Mariners value games where you can get $10 tickets out in the bleachers in center field, and I actually just go stand in the stairwell that is right next to the Hit It Here Cafe or up a level on the suite level. Amazing view, not very crowded, and they have little tables where you can set your drinks and whatnot. Here's a picture from one of the games I went to recently. It is an incredible view up there. Speaking of views, in my opinion, the best view of the city from the stadium is right over by the Trident deck. Right before you head down, there's a ramp that goes all the way down to the left field gate. At the top of that ramp, you have an amazing view of the sound as well as of the city. One of my favorite places, especially with a good sunset. If you really are looking for the cheapest way to get to a Mariners game, if you take the Link Light Rail for $3, you go sit in one of the $10 seats out in the bleachers and just go stand in that stairwell. You then go get a value beer, which is $4.50, $5, and a value hot dog, and you're set for under $20 to get to the Mariners game. That's the way that I plan on living this year because I spent way too much money at games recently. When it comes to foul balls, they're a little bit harder to get now just simply because of the big netting the Mariners have put up around the stadium. However, it's not impossible, especially if you're sitting in one of the first levels in the 300 level. Or one of the first rows in the 300 level, you can get some good ones there in the 330s area, section 330-ish. You can get some nice pop-ups there to be able to grab as well. When you're sitting down the baselines, it's a little bit more difficult, again, just because of the netting. Sitting right behind home plate as well, you'll get the little pop-ups over the net as well. So occasionally you'll see some go up into the 200 level and the suite level. So realistically, there's a good chance at getting a foul ball at T-Mobile Park, especially if it's not too crowded on a night. But the netting does kind of make it a little bit more difficult than it used to be. One of my favorite things to do before ball games, at least back in the day before they started doing construction, was walk down to the pier. There's a lot of fun stuff to do at the pier, including, of course, the Great Wheel. If you're going to make a day out of it, instead of just going to the Mariners game and going home, if you're going to make a day out of it, I would recommend going down to the pier, just checking out all the little shops like the Yield Curiosity Shop down there and whatnot. I really enjoyed doing that when I was younger. It's a little bit more difficult now because I know they're still doing construction in that area because they're trying to make it better than it was. But once that's all cleared up, I think it's going to be really fun to go down to the pier before ball games. Relatively new in the past couple of years, the Mariners switched over to Coke products and they put their machines outside of the stands, which makes it a lot easier to get refills on soda, especially when you buy a souvenir cup. You can just walk right up and fill it up. It kind of does cut down on the congestion in the lines and whatnot, and this was a huge and very important move in my opinion by the Mariners. It was a very good idea. When it comes to shopping in the team store, if I'm being honest with you, don't go in there during games. It is just way too crowded. There's no way to move around, and you're not going to be able to look at what you want to look at. I would recommend, personally, getting there a couple of hours early before the game and going in and shopping then at the team store, because you do not want to be in there when it's crowded. It is an absolute mess. It is so annoying. I highly recommend getting in there early and shopping around before game time. They do have a lot more like kiosks around the stadium now that you can go shopping at. You could go up to the 300 level and check out some of the ones up there. They shouldn't be as congested. They're obviously not going to have as much stuff as the big store does, but nonetheless, they are still going to have it. There's also a little bit of a mini store up on the 300 level as well. If you're bringing children with you, make sure to go sign up for the kids club out in center field, as well as maybe take them into that little kids club store. And if you want to, take them onto that playground out there in center field as well. A lot of stuff for kids to do. There's also like a pitch speed thing up on the 300 level where they can see how fast they throw. What are some of the secrets that you guys have for going to Mariners games? Leave them in the comments down below and let's see if I've heard of them as well. Thank you again to Travis for the $20 super chat and telling us to make this video, because it was a really fun video to make. We appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.